Hi guys, it's Emily from Novel Novels and welcome to today's video. This is my March wrap up part 2. Now I'm actually filming on the 1st of March, so only a couple of days before this goes live, because I wanted to chill a little bit more and I wanted to kind of take the pressure off. Now we all know that February had less days. It had 27 days and I finished my last book on the 28 days and I finished my last book on the 28th. So these stats are pretty darn equal. So the first few minutes will be statistically rated. I don't want this to be, because I've got quite a few books to talk about, I don't want to go into too much detail about each book, but I will obviously do little summaries. And what I am trying to do now is I do at least like a one-line review on Goodreads, because that's just an easy way of doing it. But let's get on with the stats. I read a total of 34 books. Only 29 were off my unread TBR, so I had quite a few rereads and a couple of borrowed books. But so I think that's what affected my thingy. And I did have my big book buying binge with Gemma at the start of the month / the end of January, which has affected my books being given. So 34 books off my unread TBR. No, 34 books in total, 29 off my unread TBR. I gained 36 books. 10 of those were gifts, so kind of was a slightly restrained. Yeah, that's just going to see how that number goes in March, because it's my birthday next week, so yeah. Let's see how I do. But I did unhaul 7 books off my unread TBR. I was cruel, I was tough. I DNF books that if I didn't want to read them. I picked up quite a few books, and I think I had at least 2 or 3 books that I DNF'd. I had other books that I was just like decided I just didn't want to keep anymore. I was tough. Alice, you were proud of me. I did really tough. So, my February unread TBR was 361 books. My March unread TBR was 361 books. I kept it the same. And do you know what? That's fine. I think for me, yeah, I still kind of wouldn't want the numbers to drop a little bit. But if they stay the same, or they go up a little bit some months and they go down some other months, I'm not stressed. This is the whole point, was I did not want to get stressed. I like having a library. I don't like my shelves getting too jammed. I think that was why I probably was a bit stricter with the unhauls, because I don't like my shelves being too packed, and I'd never want to go up to 400 again. I want to keep those numbers like a thingy, and I also want to make sure I read books that I want to read rather than books I feel like I should read. So when I go book shopping in March, I am going to be religiously strict about what I buy, because I do not want to pick up books unless I'm sure I'm going to like them, or you know what I mean, I've got a good idea. So now let's get on to the genres. I read 1 thriller, which was really good, 2 fantasies, which I loved. I really need to get back into fantasy. I really enjoyed them. 3 non-fiction, that was another area I really focused on and I really enjoyed. 3 what I call fiction. Now those are books that aren't necessarily contemporary, but they're not, they're just not contemporary, but they're not historical fiction, so they're fiction. I read 9 historical fictions and 11 contemporary, so those 2 numbers were really close, which was really good. Now for my star ratings. I read 3 stars. I'm so happy with that. That means that I didn't read very many books that are mediocre. 2 3.5 stars. Again, very happy with that. 9 4 stars. Very happy with that. 6 4.5 stars. Even happier. And finally, last but not least, 14 5-star books. How smashing is this going? I am doing it. I am reading books that I'm loving. I am over the flipping moon. In this wrap up, I've got 7 5-star books to talk about. So I would love it if you could guess. There is 1 book that is in this list that's a favourite for the month, and 1 book that was in the wrap up part 1, which I will link down below. And I wonder what book that you'll guess that's carried on as a favourite. And to be honest, at least one of those books is going on my favourites for the list. I can imagine. So let's go and talk about the books. We're already on 5 minutes, so I don't want to go on too long. Also, today's the day I found out me a secondary school place, so I've got like loads of mummy jobs to sort of celebrate, and I've got quite a few other jobs to do. So my first 3-star book is a book that Charlie got me for my birthday last year, The Tiger's Wife by Tia O'Bright. It was a charity shop book, so she's not too annoyed at me. It's 3 stars. It was a winner of an Orange Prize for Fiction in 2011. This reminds me why I'm not really into Orange Prize for Fiction books, because it was just not for me. I don't get where the title The Tiger's Wife came from. I don't know if I'm just too daft for this book. I don't know if I'm thick. There were certain areas of this book that I liked. It felt to me like more short stories, and I didn't kind of get the connection. There was about a certain tiger that she talks about, and that bit was good, but I really did not grasp it at all. It was just not a book for me. So, charity shop. And a book that I picked, that I think Chris picked for me because it's Valentine's Day. It was sweet, it was pink, it was girly, and it was only 3 stars because it's sweet. It's a sweet contemporary, The Sweet Temptation. But the fat kind of, there was a bit of fat phobic kind of comments about weight and how you get happier when you lose weight. Well, surely you should be happy in whatever weight you are. Like, it shouldn't be about that. Be happy in your own self. I did like the friendships in it. There is some real domestic violence in this as well, which I found quite hard. I will say there were some real triggers in this. And there's also grief and things like that. It is a contemporary. Certain areas are cosy, but there are some very hard-hitting bits. But I think for me, obviously, you should all be happy in yourselves. And it was alright. It was just an alright contemporary. It's not one I'm like, yay about, but it's not one that I'm devastated by. It was one I bought when I went to on holiday, so that's fine. It's a charity shop one. Some people might like it, just not for me. Now, a bit of the disappointment was my 3.5-star book, because I loved Miss Benson's Beetle by Rachel Joyce, and I feel like I've let Charlie from Charles Heathcote down, because I think he liked this, but it wasn't 100%. It was good. Don't get me wrong, it was 3.5 stars. It wasn't bad, and I did enjoy it, but it was nowhere near up to Miss Benson's Beetle, like that kind of resignation. I don't know if Mum will like it or not, so I might put that to one side, possibly for Mum. It's set in a music shop. I class it as historical fiction because it was set in 1988. Although the idea of 1988 when I was only like 9 does make me feel a bit like concerned that that's technically classed as historical fiction these days. It's set in a music shop. It was really slow to get into. It was really one of those books. I liked the community, I liked certain areas of the book, but it was really, really slow, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to, so that's either going to be charity shop or me, I'm not sure, so that might just go over there. And now for my 4-star books. These are all books that I really loved. Like, to me, anything 4-star and above, it was just great, and I'm happy for. But the first 4 stars is Nicholas Nickleby by Charles Dickens. And even though it's mahoosive and I read it over 2 months, I pretty much buddy read it with Charlie from my Charlie Reads, my bestie sister. And this was good. It was far better than Bleak House, but not quite as good as David Copperfield or Great Expectations. But I did love it. The ending killed me, and it gave me all the feels. The fact that I missed, because I do read quite fast, I did miss certain bits of the end, and Charlie could not believe that I missed these bits. I can't tell you what they are because they're spoilers, and Charlie already gave me a spoiler, little cow. But it was brilliant. It was such a brilliant book, and I think when I started reading it with Charlie, it made it even better. I love Nicholas Nickleby. I loved his character so much. I loved his sister Kate. His mum annoyed me at points. There was like this uncle that is pure evil. You've got some great characters. Literally, I loved this so much. I really, really enjoyed it. Smike. I loved Smike. I loved Kate. I loved it. I loved how bad the uncle was. It was just a really, really good book, and one I'm definitely going to reread. So this is like going on my keep here. I loved it. It was a brilliant Dickens. And the way I read it like 100 pages at a time. So it's kind of made me definitely want to read the next. I'm reading Martin Chuzzlewit this month. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. Now the next one is one Mum will not want to read, but I did enjoy, and that was The Break by Marion Keyes. It was my first Marion Keyes, and I sort of went into it slow, like thinking, oh, is it going to be a slow-paced contemporary? Is it going to be what's it going to be like. It was because it is a very big book, and it's very like, I read it 50 pages a day, which again worked because I really got to absorb it. It's about an Irish family. It's set mainly in Ireland. It's about break, so it does tackle cheating. But the reason why it went from 5 to 4 was the ending. I can't tell you what it is, obviously, but the ending to me let it down. So the break got 4 stars because the ending let me down. But again, the cheating, and there's some other... But there is some bits in this that really do get you thinking about Irish politics and stuff, and about religion, and about quite a few other things. So it's a very good book, one I definitely enjoyed. Then a book that I picked up random. The next few books I picked up because obviously I'd read my set TBR. And this was You, Me, Everything by Catherine Isaac. I read another book by this author, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was. But I will straight away tell you there are some triggers again. There's got health issues in this, and I can't really give up way too much. I hate this one, I can't. But you've got Jess and her 10-year-old son William. They set off for a summer at the chateau. They set off for France, and there they meet up with her ex-boyfriend Adam, who is her son William's dad. And they were determined. Jess is determined that she's going to get Adam to get closer to his son. But she's got a mother who's in the late stages of a neurodegenerative disease. That area is quite hard. It's quite hard to hear about all this stuff. But it is done really well. There is some twist in the romance. It's a really good book. Not sure if that's another one I'm not sure if Mum's going to want to read or not. But it is really well written, and it definitely talks about families and how your friends can give you strength, which I did love. Now the next one is a beautiful book. Again, I bought on holiday. I think it was Bogner reading month. This was The Things That We Left Unsaid. Love the colour sprayed edges. And this is another one that... This one's actually got like a dual timeline because it's got about Rachel's mother's storyline, Eleanor. It's her storyline, and something happens like at the start of this book where Rachel's wedding gets cancelled and she has to move in with her mother, and then you get a twist halfway through which you don't expect, and it definitely kind of gets you thinking about your past and what makes us who we are, and about how our parents' past can shape us as well. Really, really good book. It's definitely my first Emma Kennedy book. Actually, no, this wasn't a Bogner book. This was a book I bought in Oxford. This is not Oxford, Windsor. See, I do have to think. But this was a really good book, and I really, really enjoyed it. Again, I don't know if Mum will want that or not. So this is on my... not sure. Then a book my sister Charlie gave me around about December, because December time. This is like You Got Mail, but diversely done, which I loved. It was a really, really good book. Another one I think Mum... It's like a rom-com. It really is. You've Got Mail, and it's done like set in America. It is Hannah Khan's family-run halal restaurant is on its last for legs, and then they get a rival, and Hannah is doing a podcast under an anonymous name, and so she starts messaging this person, and then she's also got this rival with the restaurant rival, and it's a really good book. Absolutely enjoyed it. I thought it was thoroughly great, and it's one that definitely shows me that I need to read books set in different countries. I need to read books with more diversity in it. I need to really go with it, because this was brilliant, and I really, really enjoyed it. Really fun contemporary. Then I read another 4 stars, which I think we're still in my 4 stars. Yes, we still are in my 4 stars, and this was Journey to the Sea by Eva Ibbotson. It's a YA historical fiction that Ange from Angie's Book Chatter got me, and I will link Angie's channel down below. It's a very pretty edition. I'm going to try and get Mia to read this, and this is one Mum will like. It is set in the Amazon, and it's set... I can't remember when. It's set in the past. I can't remember exactly when. Why can I not remind myself? But it's set quite a long time ago in history, and it's about an orphan who gets sent off to live in the Amazon with her second cousin or whatever else. And there's some journey in there, and she gets sent with a governess, and there's some friendships and about independence and about family, and I just really, really enjoyed it. Brilliant, brilliant book. Mum's got a really big pile to look through. Then another book that Ange sent me, and I think I'm trying to decide whether I keep this because it's a thriller. It's more like a mystery thriller, but it's also got historical fiction, so I don't know whether to keep this or not. I'm tempted. I think I might go and put it on my shelves to keep. I actually kind of might want to reread this. No More Days, No More Times, No More Ties, No More Secrets. And it's about a family history. And at the start of this, Lucy discovers the body of her great aunt, Kitty, with a puzzling note and empty pill bottles on her bed. She can't believe that the formidable woman has gone, or she can't understand why she took her own life. And that is a mystery, and there is some real triggers in this, but it's so well written. I think Charlie would like this, actually. I'm going to lend this to Charlie. No, she might kill me if I lend it to her at the moment, but yeah. This is a really, really good book. I think I'm going to keep that. I don't think Mum will really like it, so yeah, I'm actually going to keep that. And then to my 4-star, actually, Lullaby Beach is 4.5 stars, sorry. See, my brain's not in gear. This is my first 4.5-star book, so I am going to keep it. Then to a book that I borrowed from my daughter's best friend's mum. She's a reader, which I love. And it starts with us. I read It Ends With Us, which is very domestic violence related. So please, that has a lot of triggers. This does still have some triggers, but it is literally a follow on from It Ends With Us. So I can't tell you too much. But it's 2 characters that get back together. Close your ears if you don't want to know spoilers. But when I put down this book, then I've stopped talking about it. So if you don't want to hear about this book, until when I put it down, you know you can come back. But this is about Atlas and Lily, who reconnect at the very start of this book, and they met up again in the first book. And Lily has shares custody with her ex-husband Ryle, who is safe to say is not a nice guy. In fact, he's the biggest bastard you could ever meet. And when she meets Atlas again, and this is about their romance, and it's a lot happier than the first book. And Lily and Atlas start dating again. It's told by both them do different chapters, and it's really, really good. And I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. It's 4.5 stars. I've got to give it back to Thingy, but yeah, I almost want my own copy of it because it was that good. But yeah, I didn't keep my first copy of the first one, so I kind of feel like I'm cheating if I do it. But yeah, that was really, really good. Now to another 4.5 star, and this was by Rachel Lucas. It made me want to pick up another Rachel Lucas, which I did do. This is connected to another book. This is the Village Green Bookshop, and I read the other one that I really loved, which I think I read that last year. This is connected, The Telephone Box Library. And this is the second in that series. I don't know if she carries on that series. But this is about a bookshop. So it's a book about bookshop, again, go-tos. And again, you do have some interesting areas in this book. It's about a real romance. It's a real happy contemporary. It does talk about books, which is brilliant. And it also talks about how you can't always kind of judge people by the first impressions, and really, really good, cosy contemporary. Mum would definitely like that. So that's a definite mum. This is another one that's a really definite mum. She'll definitely like this. And this is Breakfast at Darcys. It's another 4.5 star book. It's by Ali McNamara, who is a go-to author for me. I love her books. And this is really interesting. I really love it. When Darcy McCall loses her beloved Aunt Molly, this is really does say about you can't judge people by your first appearances. Because, when Molly finds out that in Molly's will, Darcy has to kind of go to an island and live in an island and create a community. And I love watching that community be created and come together. I loved the way it flew together. I just thought it was a brilliant, brilliant book. Community, family, mystery, community elements. Really thoroughly loved this. This is just such a good book. Now to my 5 stars. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in this. No, 7. No, 1, 2, 3. 7 in this. Can you guess which one's the favourite? My first copy is Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier. It's a reread. I read it for the FOMO book club's choice. Go to Daphne du Maurier. It is my favourite book by Daphne du Maurier. It does not let me down. I know some people preferred Rebecca. I've read this, Rebecca, My Cousin Rachel, and Frenchman's Creek, and this is my favourite. It is dark, it's mysterious, it's like Wuthering Heights gone wrong because it's very dark and got a lot of abuse, a lot of dark themes, but it's good and I got a lot more out of it the second time. I really, really read it thoroughly and it's one I could reread over and over again. I am now going to be rereading A Frenchman's Creek with the girls, with the BookTube Possible girls, in September, I think, because this has made them all want to read it. It is such an amazing book. If you like dark books, if you like books set in Cornwall, if you like horrible, horrible characters, this is full of them. It is amazeballs. Then another reread, which is for the Page Tune reread along. She's got her latest book coming out in April, which I'll be buying, and reading it as soon as it comes out in May. I'll read it in May. But this is Page Tune, Someone I Used to Know. It was also my reread for the month because I loved it. It made me cry again. Didn't make me cry as much the second time, but it did make me cry. And I got a lot more out of it the second time. You've got two timelines again. You've got Leah and Leah's time now and her time when she was a child. Her family foster. There is romance. There is fostering in it. There is family in it. It is just brilliant. But there were some triggers for me in it, which is what made me not want to reread it. Which means that I did cry, but I thought it was brilliant. Now to one of my non-fiction books, which I read in like 2 hours. It is The Twins of Auschwitz by Eva Moritz. I'm not going to keep this one because even though it was 5 stars, it broke me because it's about twins in Auschwitz. There were 10 when they got put in Auschwitz. Joseph Mengele was in charge of them, and we know what he was like with twins. It is very, very hard-hitting. It will break you, but it is non-fiction, so there was no way I was going to rate it any less than 5 stars because there is no way you can almost rate it. The memoir is done perfectly. It's not focused. You do have a lot of the graphic stuff, and there are some real triggers in this about what happened in Auschwitz, but there is some good stuff either side, and it really does talk about how the sisters looked after each other. So thoroughly amazing, but Mum will not want to read that. This is another Kathy Glass book. This is one of my oldest Kathy Glass books, and this is Damaged by Kathy Glass, and this one broke me to pieces. It literally shattered me in a million bloody pieces because it talks about one child who went through hell and really struggled to get anywhere. Like, it was one of Kathy Glass. It shows you that not every injury can be healed, and what hell this child went through, and how hard it was for Kathy Glass and her family when they were fostering her. It really, really triggered me. Do not read Kathy Glass books if you think they're going to be easy, but this one was going to be one of the hardest hitting, and yeah, completely shattered me, but it was still 5 stars. Then one I loved it. Danny from Danny's Book World got me to buy this last year. I bought it full price from the works, and it's my first Kate Nunn book, and it will not be my last. It is an incredible book. The only thing I'll say is that it does say on the back that it's 3 timelines, but to me there was pretty much only 2. You've got Burma in 1945. Bee, Plum, Bubbles, Joy and Lucy are 5 young women looking for adventure, fighting the forgotten war in the jungle. So it's set in Burma, which is not something that's talked about a lot in the war. And they're running a mobile canteen, and they're dodging hostile gunfire. Then you've got the middle timeline, which is Oxford in 1976, where a woman slips into a museum in England and steals a rare Japanese miniature sculpture, and she steals rare Japanese miniature sculptures. But that timeline. It's right at the start, and then you don't go back there. And then you've got London and Galway in 1999. On the eve of the millennium, Olivia, an art dealer, meets elderly widow Beatrice, who is hoping to sell her husband's collection of Japanese art. And then they attend a New Year's Eve party in the Irish countryside, and secrets of more than 50 years are coming in. Again, this is very hard hitting. This one made me break. This broke me as well. But it's definitely more the first and third storylines. But this is very interesting. I thoroughly loved it. I think Mum will actually love it, but I'm going to put that to one side again. It was a brilliant book. And then a little short fantasy that I wanted to read just to finish the month off and get another book read, but it's one I'm going to keep. And this is Poor Unfortunate Souls, and this is Ursula's retelling. So it's a retelling of Ursula and what Ursula was like, and oh my goodness, it was quite interesting because you kind of get the ideas of what Ursula's history could have been and why she does what she did to Ariel in The Little Mermaid, and it's brilliant. 5 stars, really good fun. Then lastly, got a book that got released on the 2nd of March, so day before this comes out. I got a proof copy. It's an ad PR copy. So this is my ad PR copy. So it's also an uncorrected proof. So it might have been changed slightly, but it's 5 stars. It's the first of Anton Dubek's newest series. It is set in 1962, partly at the London Palladium, partly in a village place where they go. It's about so in the Seagate Theatre is also partly where it's also set, and yeah, it's brilliant. It's about Ed Forsyth runs like a theatre company, and they get told they've been offered a place at the Royal Variety Performance, but something happens at the start. A very big thing happens, and there's blood on the floor, and you think someone's been murdered, but you're not sure who. You're not sure if they have been murdered, but there is certainly a murder. There could be a murder on the loose, and that runs throughout. Like, you're wondering, you go back to before the murder happened, before it all happened, and you find out the story of Ed Forsyth and how you can kind of get it up. And it's Ed's like last hurrah. He's going to retire, but then his son he's got 2 twins, and Evie has stayed with them all the whole time. And we find out that in the past, Ed's wife died about 5 years ago, and Ed kind of went off the rails, and Cal, Evie's twin, disappeared. Couldn't hack it, disappeared. And then at the start of this book, he reappears. And you find out whether they're going to accept him back in, and whether Evie's family things, and brilliant, brilliant book. Mum definitely loved that. So yeah, I have had a brilliant month. I'm really happy with this. What do you all think? Is there any books you want to talk about? What has your favourite book of the month been so far? And have you guessed my favourite? So the favourite from the second half is The Last Reunion by K.A. Nunn. Loved it. Could well go on my favourites for the year. I'm not 100% sure. But the book that is definitely going on my favourites for the year, and that's the book I read in the first half of the month, and that was The Wolf Den by Duda. I can't remember who it's by, but The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. Yes, that is perfect. Just found out that the sequel's on sale on Amazon. I'm hoping I get it for my birthday. Not dropping hints, but I wonder if it's going to... Yeah. But yeah, The Wolf Den was amazing. That's going on my favourites for the year so far. Loved that in the first half. But yeah, let me know what your favourite book of the month so far has been. Did you guess my favourite? I'd love to know. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, not subscribe it. Bring on my ding-a-ling. Do it right in a minute. And I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.